Utah, when I was a boy, everybody knew what a downwind was. We were the anti-nuclear capital of the world. I was an autistic kid. My father was a drafted United States Marine, an incredible man. I come from an incredible family. My uncle stood on Omaha Beach on D-Day. I grew up on a huge ranch out by the lake. He was a beautiful, incredible person. He was at Pendleton, combat ready, and they were human guinea pig. They were marched into the trenches in Nevada. They're called atomic veterans. He nearly died at the blast. Between 1951 and 1968, we had 300 open-air tests. Well, as different scientists started to write about this, Wallace Stegner was at the University of Utah at the time. I got to know him. Edward Abbey was hanging around there. I got to know him. I got to know all these environmentalists, and I was an environmentalist. And it was a passionate, intense subject matter there.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Twin Gate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Twin Gate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. They'll be calling you a radical. May God have mercy on all of your souls.
Nuclear power was evolving. We were promised, oh, this can't happen.
Well, good morning, all you guys. I hope you're crawling out of your dogma snuggies, and I hope the indigestion from them dogma burgers at Foxconn News and CNN and MSNBC and all the YouTubers out there that throw the baby out, I hope that the indigestion hasn't tore up your guts too bad. A lot to talk about, a lot. There's a huge, giant breaking story over the last couple days about Alina, the famous tennis player, the beautiful Russian girl. Yeah, people don't realize that she was born in Kiev, in the Chernobyl death zone. She has liver cancer. I want people to really, I'm going to really dive into this. I'm going to dive into the dynamic of FEMEN and their incredible work that they did, and the whole dynamic of Chernobyl, which is Fukushima now, and the black and yellow journalistic whore media. And I'm going to dive into the pedophilia-loving Foxconn News with UCY. Come on, get real. You know, you can't pick and choose, you know, the Bundy situation, and now it's all about it. Now, I understand. I live in Utah. I dramatically understand the fight between the feds and the state rights. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater, it's not just cut it, chuck it, go. It doesn't work that way. You people that will not dive into the whole story, you're still feeding to the Operation Foxconn dynamic. Now let's talk first and foremost, rightfully so, about Alina and her cancer in the liver. It's very, very dramatic, and it's a very sad, that's a beautiful, young Russian female, which you people in Europe understand. And you can argue with me all you want, and my work can prove that Chernobyl has killed well over 40 million people, and my number is very conservative. The IA 4,400 people. This guy from Forbes who came out, radiation killed no one. I mean, that is beyond over the top. To a person like me, that's a direct spit in my face. I'll run into that guy one day, and he's going to wish he never saw me. Talk about throw karma on you. I want people to understand, when I was in the bone marrow transplant, we take our hospital here, because of the incredible doctors from Copenhagen, Denmark, from Long Island, this group that set up shop there, they take the hardest of the hardcore cases. The younger the person, the more resources they throw at them. They take these young females. I was in there with a very, very beautiful young Russian girl, very young. She was in there with me from Chernobyl, because they know they take on the hardcore of the cases, the hardcore of the hardcore. This is blood cancer. This is leukemia. Once, like Alina, it's in her liver. What does that mean? Oh, just have a liver transplant. No. That means it's everywhere. That means she's in the fight of her life, big time. It's beyond heartbreaking. I saw the story. It really teared me up, really made me emotional. The little girl that I was in there with Chernobyl passed away right before I did that. I did that video with the central line hanging out of my chest. She was going to do it with me in support of FEMEN and Pussy Riot. That was on the Pussy Riot day that I did that with my central line hanging out. I want to talk about this activism. The FEMEN girls, clear back a long time ago in the 90s, people all over Europe were in complete denial about Chernobyl. Now, when I did my gig on the beach in San Francisco on the 26th, I told some friends, I says, now I'm going to advertise it, I'm going to do this on the 26th, and I'm not going to mention to one single person that it is in symphony with the group in Russia that are doing their gig, and it's the anniversary of Chernobyl. And I'm going to see how many people come forward and can say, oh, wow. One person, and I knew that person would always get it, Dave Parrish, because he always gets it. He knew what I was up to. When I went down there on the beach, we had 5 people come from all over that showed up, 5. We had another group from East who didn't know Oakland who set up with us of about a dozen. So we're sitting there with about 15, 20 people. But I want you to remember that the Wells showed up. When I was out on Point Reyes, which is incredible dynamic, the baby leopard sea pup. Now, if you don't think my videos matter, that video went up within a few hours, short hours of that video going up. I got calls from NOAA, from the agencies down there, wanting to know where that sea lion pup was, and they were out there. That's how the people that are watching my videos, and I understand that, and I know that. So, I've had this gift from the time I was a child. From the time I was a child, that animals will come right up to me. They always have. Kids. I can go anywhere. Little children will walk up to me. My grandma used to talk about it. I can be out somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Birds will fly right up to me. And there's videos out there that show this. I mean, when I'm doing that crazy intense video on 2 sandhill cranes, you can hear them right at me. You know, birds don't fly at people. That has a lot to do with your spirituality, your electrical magnetism, your energy. I think that's why the whole dynamic of my cancer coming when it came, I don't think that was any coincidence. I think it was my past. The horrific death of my father, the autistic mind that I was given as a child, I think that happened for a reason, to tell this tale of Chernobyl. We were out on Point Reyes, which you don't see it. I mean, people that have been there their whole lives. John, who's in bed with the environment, who is there. I mean, this guy eats, sleeps, drinks every inch. He says, how rare this is. A whole pod of humpbacks going, it's magnificent. What a grand place. So my gig in symphony with the Chernobyl anniversary, with FEMEN, with so many, it's so important. Remember this. The young, beautiful Russian girls, they took their shirts off for a reason. I equate them a lot to Code Pink in the United States and in the UK, which people don't realize what incredible work Code Pink did in the lead up to the war. Just because our black and yellow propagandist media, our media in the United States is nothing but a propaganda machine for the war machine. It is the military. I call it Operation Foxconn. Now, it's all of them. It's across MSNBC, NBC, and I'm using a technique because I'm sick and tired of the so-called activist who's not really an activist. They've taken the field and they've sold our thunder. They've sold our energy. Now, FEMEN, those are real activists. Those girls went in to Chernobyl. They went in right at the plants, took their clothes off, held up signs and says, killed by... Now, let's remember who the FEMEN girls are. They're girls from Ukraine who started that whole gig. You know how much death they watched in their face? They watch it year in, year out. Know this. In Russia and Europe, when it rained from Chernobyl, Sweden took huge blows. Scotland took gigantic swaths of Chernobyl. So did much of England. There are places in England to this day because their regulatory commissions won't allow livestock to go into the food chain. In the United States, let's remember this. Europe has banned beef from the United States for many, many, many years. And why? Those videos that I shot out there at Energy Solutions, those are Mormon welfare farmers that are not supposed to be there, just like Bundy. You cannot pick and choose your redistribution of wealth. You can't do it. Now, we're going to talk about your money. We're going to talk about this whole far-stretching dynamic of the reality of the truth. You can sit in your dogma all you want. You can curl up in your snuggies as you're killing yourself, financially, economically, socially. What is the evangelicals in America, the Mormons, Operation Foxconn? I'm going to really go off on KSL over the next one. There's a guy named Doug Wright here who has the show. He's a passive-aggressive mass murderer. These are mass murderers. They destroy your wealth. They destroy everything about you. They are golden calf worshipers. The evangelicals in this country, Jesus died so I could be rich, are golden calf worshipers. Jesus Christ stood in the face of the exact opposite what they all are. The mega church leaders, Operation Foxconn, Bill O'Reilly sitting there quoting scripture when he is a mass murderer. These people are murderers. These black and yellow journalistic whores, Sanjay Gupta, CNN, these corporate boards, they are murderers. These are propaganda machines for mass murder. Code Pink got it. FEMEN got it. There's a bunch of girls, really beautiful females, that have been buying up my shirts, from what I understand. I got an email from a girl in a stripper in Vegas. He says, hey, we're all wearing your post-ignorant shirts. We got some photos we're going to send you because they're becoming socially responsible. They're starting to understand the dynamic. Now, I met Megan Rice many, many years ago in the Valley test site with her mother, believe it or not. Madeline Rice, one of the greatest activists in human history. That's Megan's mom. The protege of Martin Luther King? Absolutely. Remember, Megan Rice is sitting in the female detention center in Brooklyn. I went over there. They wouldn't let me talk to her. They wouldn't let me see her. But I went there in support of her. She knows I went there because I support her, and I know for a fact that Megan and Greg and Michael, they're very disheartened. They did what they had to do at Y12. They did what they had to do. Incredible power files, guts of, because they thought that the American populace would care and the media coverage would care. This is Megan Rice, Upper East Side, New York City, Dr. Rice's daughter. She is New York, as New York gets. I think it was page 12, a little common, her sentencing in the New York Times. New York Times runs an article about Chernobyl and their sarcophagus as a propaganda machine for the nuclear cartel. The Washington Post, propaganda machines for the nuclear cartel. And karma? Oh boy. This guy from Forbes, radiation's killed no one. Radiation is a death sentence. The beef that is drinking out of the water, coming right out of the burn plant at Hastings cut off. That's incredible viral. I go off? Hell yes, I go off. I'm going to go off. For recording history and prosperity and the purpose and the fight for so many as the Fukushima death zone will kill. It will kill for millenniums. As a Utah downwinder, I get it. Utah just accepts. They accept that their loved ones die of cancer. God's will, come shall thou mayest. John Steinbeck wrote it best in East of Eden, at the end of East Eden. You know, Lee, the great, incredible philosopher. Because Adam's framing himself for the death of his son. World War I in your head is the dynamic 100 years later. And we'll spill this into financing your money. Oh, the Federal Reserve is going to be 100 years old. You have the word Federal Reserve. Central banks existed since 1774. Very first thing the United States of America did, we had to borrow money to fight the freaking Queen. You don't think the Revolutionary War cost money? It cost money. How did we do that? We had a bond market. We had a central bank. Alexander Hamilton said we cannot have debt. We have to have a strong credit rating because it is ignorant to think that our shores will not be attacked for our natural resources, which BP attacked. The Queen's Army floated up the Potomac in 1812 and burnt the White House to the ground. As the Queen's Army, the uranium mines, they're trying to reopen them in southern Utah. This is the ignorant, hair-sprayed masquerade, golden calf worship that the Mormon Church is. Dirty Herbie, the passive-aggressive. Now, by the way, his son, a pedophile creep who stalked two young girls. This is the governor of the state of Utah. Passive-aggressive Mormons. Hardcores. Elizabeth Smart's father, who caused the rape of his own daughter, who our new Congressman Stewart has written a book. They make money off the rape of their own daughter. Remember this. Ed Smart lived in that big house, was broke off his ass. He would bring the homeless into that house in Utah. While the young girls were playing the harp in there, 50 different young girls into that, because he had no money. He had to just show everybody, look at my big house. So he was making his young girls vulnerable to the most dangerous people. Have you ever seen pictures of the guy who got her? Ed Smart would go down and get him to mow his lawn, paint his house, fix his air conditioner, do all these homeless people do these works because he was so cheap that his money trumped logic and reason. The little girl gave that guy's Manuel's name to the FBI that day that it happened. KSL, Doug Wright. I'm going to write a book about this. I had young girls here in Utah. I live right there. It was scary. He cut right through a screen window. KSL's Live. They're going crazy about it. A guy calls into KSL Live. I have it. Says, hey, we're up behind the house in the mountains because the house sits right there at the foothills, right by the Bone North Transplant Center where I've at. This is where these big, ugly, styrofoam piece of shit mansion. Remember, Ed Smart is a neocon, political operative, broke off his ass, living in a house he can't afford, upside down because it's all about the masquerade party and their image. They're golden calf worshipers to the 10th power. This guy calls in. He says, look, there's a guy in the side of the mountain. I've been chasing him and tracking. He looks just like Jesus, the long-haired beard, whatever, and he just disappeared into the side of the mountain. He goes, oh, really? Remember, 300 FBI agents, 300. Remember, Elizabeth Smart's little sister gave them a list of 50 people on this name. This guy was right there under their nose. He was a known pedophile. His own daughters, his own ex-wife. If they would have even interviewed, and this girl gave the name, it was him. He hit her into the side of the mountain. He was living up in there with another and raped her and raped her and raped her and raped her. She was right underneath their nose the whole time. Ed Smart has become rich. He's on Fox News. He becomes one of the Twitter. And know this, the Mormon Church is Fox News. Fox News, The Voice, KSL, they are Fox News. They are the golden calf worship, passive-aggressive mass murder, just like the evangelical community is. Joe and his trophy wife. Jesus died so I could be rich. Really? No, you're the opposite. You're devils, and hell holds a place for every one of you passive-aggressives in hairspray. Whole hell holds a beautiful place. The Forbes guy who wrote Freaking Night, hell holds an incredible place for them. These Mormon mooch farmers that are out in the energy side, I've been going to the state of Utah. They're not supposed to be there, just like Bundy. They're welfare for mooches. The greatest welfare mooch and whores in the world is Fox. The military-industrial complex, the pork contracts. We're not talking $200 a month. We're talking $200 million a second in fake military-industrialized complex welfare mooch. They don't work. These people don't work. This is wealth without hard work. That's the welfare queens. Fox News loves welfare queens. They love pedophiles. They love this freaking whole group. The Bundy clan down there, they're freaking pedophiles. They are government mooches. Okay, Nevada owns it. Then why doesn't he send a check to the state of Nevada for the $2 million that he's mooched off you? Because you don't care. You use our roads. You use our complex. And let's get real about this as far as Foxconn News. Now, let's talk finance right here, right now. I've reopened my hedge fund yesterday. My hedge fund's going to be responsible. And I hope I can build it up, and I'm going to put incredible, intense heat. And I hope I can get other hedge fund managers to put heat on the nuclear cartel. We can put some heat on this. We can get some of these powerhouses going against them and shorting their equities and putting the heat on their board of directors, which I think I can do. If I set my mind to do this, I think I can do it, and I'm going to do it. We're going to put the heat on General Electric. We're going to put the heat on Westinghouse, which was bought out by Toshiba, but still retains it. We're going to put the heat politically, socially, economically. Now let's think about this. Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, you can go right down the Foxconn, Sarah Palin, right down the operation. Mike Huckabee, who's one of the most ignorant people who ever walked the face of the earth. Now let's talk about this in reality. I If you'd followed me along on my YouTube site, I turned $3,000 into $700,000 from when BP happened, April of 2010 to August, September of 2011. You followed along. I just went the opposite of what Fox News told you to do. Now let's think about this. You got $100,000 in your 401k, and I know so many people that did this. So many. In Utah, everybody I know did it. I argued with them. I'm like, you're nuts. 2008, I'm like, when Obama got elected, I'm like, you know, the Bush military war machine's out of office. Maybe we can get technology to rally back up. I recommended I was managing two people who inherited huge sums of wealth, giant sums of wealth. I'm like, go all in Apple. I won't buy Apple. Apple's evil, slave owner piece of shit. So I trade the derivative, which is completely abstract. Has nothing to do with the equity. So I'm go all in. You know, these guys are screaming their head off. Glenn Beck goes on a crying rant. By the way, Glenn Beck's an ex-alcoholic, drug addict, heroin junkie addict they found in this gutter. I used to be all fucked up on the dope. Now I'm all fucked up on the Lord. He's a devil. Hell holds a really special place for that punk. He will rot in the lowest form. To bear false witness, I was always taught, was the greatest thing. That's all they do is bear false witness all day. Doug Wright, KSL, the Mormon Church, the Evangelicals, Sean Hannity, all of them, all the way down. They bear false witness all day. They're bigots, hardcore racists, and make no mistake about it. The words that come out of Clyde Bundy's, his bigotry, his sickening freaking, which is the hallmark of a low IQ, which is the hallmark of ignorance, which we've empowered these people. Bigotry says everything about a human being. Everything. That is exactly what he spewed, is exactly what the Mormon Church thinks. They hate black people. They hate brown people. They hate women. The Mormon Church had their way that women be wearing burqas, and that's a fact. Know this, the Mormon Church and their doctrine and their thesis. I will quote Joseph Smith when he got caught cheating with the other women, and his wife, by the way, divorced his ass in Nauvoo and stayed there, Emma. Which, by the way, Fama K. Brody, who I knew personally, exposed that he was having sex with 14-year-olds. The Mormon Church, oh, God, they couldn't believe it. They've ostracized the greatest female writer in American history. They've ostracized our university. It is not only your right to have 10 virgins, it is your duty to find the 10 virgins. The Mormons believe that they're the only ones going to heaven. The only ones. The rest go to hell. That's why they baptize for the dead. There's only 5 million practicing Mormons on earth. In order to they get married in the temple, they're given a secret name. The women, and the man is told the woman's secret name. She doesn't even know it. To get into heaven, the man has to call her name. That's fact. These people are hardcore racists. The FLDS in southern Utah, which is not the Mormon Church here, they are not. They got run out of here. Bundy left here. He was right here. That's their family. Oh, oh no. Now my family, multi-generational ranchers. Oh yeah. My family was the very first people here. My family have been here since 1847. Bundy, down there in that desert site, has only been there for 50 years. He's a government welfare mooch. He's a bigot. He's a racist. He's anti-woman. They're pedophilia. They're anti-child. That's who these people are. So you can throw the baby out with the bathwater. You throw in with those guys. All you're doing is destroying yourself. You're proving your ignorance. Now, I'm all for the corruption of the Fed being cleaned up because, of course, it's grotesquely corrupt. So Fox News, it goes on their crying thing. They beat every single person on YouTube except me. All of them across the dynamic since 2008, 2009. The markets are melting down. The biggest sell-off in United States stock market history. Now remember, the dollar got whacked between 2003 and 2006, cut in half, which that means all wealth was cut in half, including your gold bars. You can't avoid it. We turned this country into a third world country between 2000 and 2008. Was turned into a third world country. The hallmark of third world country, corruption. The hallmark of a third world company, you have a so-called 1%. Now, who feeds that dynamic and a brew? Fox News, CNN. Everything they do flies in the face and supports this very system. Oh, don't tax trade. Don't tax these freaking thieves that are freaking looting America. Don't freaking let Apple park $200 billion in an offshore account. That used to be illegal on Glass-Steagall. That used to be illegal. Pfizer, $50 billion. You know how many trillions of dollars parked offshore? Because these people extract wealth from the United States. They use our roads. They use our school systems they use everything that taxes cover you. So you want no taxes in the country. We don't need to raise taxes. We need a tariff. We need a tariff at the port, just like Alexander Hamilton. So you think there's a tariff at the port that the Chinese, which is nothing but American companies, we exploiting slavery, backdooring environmental protection laws, just like out there, cows drinking water directly out of the burn plant. Those cows are shipped into the thing, and the guy says, oh, it's dog food. What? Dog food? What? Quit posturing and grooming yourself. No, but that beef will be labeled as organic beef. Will land up on the plates in San Francisco, in New York City, in Chicago, in Tennessee, in Oklahoma, on your plates. At your local Wendy's, it'll be labeled steaks because it's free-range cattle. It's not from a feedlot. They're drinking water directly out of that plant. I got it right there on video. Hastings cut off. Isn't it a metaphor for Hastings? Now remember, Hastings was a lying scumbag. He told the Donner Party that he had a secret path. He told the Mormons. The Mormons were headed to San Francisco in 1847. Brom went by ship. Remember, in 1846, Hastings told, hey, I have the cutoff. I have this trip that will save you 3 weeks. It will save you 3 weeks, 6 weeks maybe. You don't have to go on the Oregon Trail all the way up. He lied to them. He didn't have shit. He was selling that information. He was a liar. Now, remember, the Donner Party had some elitists named the Reeds and believe it or not, there were luxury covered wagons. They had a luxury covered wagon. They got stuck in the mud on the salt flats right there. So they were behind. Well, the karma caught up. It's horrible, tragic what happened to them. They caught in the Sierras that probably the earliest, strongest snowstorm in the history as us white guys record history of the last 150 years. Still, it was on Halloween they got caught. Couldn't get over and just kept snowing and snowing and snowing. The Reeds shot a bear and refused to share. They hid it in their elitist wagon. They're the only ones that lived and survived. As they ate their own. That was in 1846. The Mormons were in 1847. Hastings lied to them. Told them Immigration Canyon was clear cut through there. It was not. They spent weeks cutting. They landed on July 24th right there right at the bone marrow transplant center where I'm at, right to that square inch, including my own family. They knew it was too late. They knew they would never they would get caught in the Sierras. They were later than the Donners. The famous story goes at Names Monument. I'm going to go up to Names Monument, do it really great, which is at Fontenelle Reservoir in Wyoming, which is an incredible place where Jim Bridger, which I love it how Utah history is trying to say Jim Bridger discovered the Great Salt Lake, slipped around the Great Salt Lake. Father Escalante was here hundreds of years before Jim Bridger. And let's talk, the Native Americans for 4,000 years. Right behind my house, decoys found in those caves, right there where they moxie the fuel for the Westinghouse at Little Mountain, Utah, right behind my house. In those caves where now they moxie fuel and have for years. I used to get chased out of there with a helicopter. Their secret moxie fuel plant in symphony with Y-12. 4,000-year-old freaking decoys. The natives. Oh. And if you don't believe men are evil, you look what we did to the Native Americans, especially in California. I mean, here, $5 a scalp. Go kill them, man, woman, and child. Look what we did to the buffalo. Now look what we're doing to the two-legged. Men are evil. They have to be checked. So your free market fairy tales, just let everybody do whatever they want. The Queen's Army, the biggest army wins. That's called feudalism. That is called neo-epic feudalism. The return back that we fought the Revolutionary War against. Alexander Hamilton put a tariff at the port. Now, if you think there's a tariff at the port that they're still not going to bring their cheap, junky-ass Chinese goods in America, the American makes less than 3% of the world population, yet consumes 65% of the world's population. The Mormons have bought into the growth, obey, consume, obey, which it benefits no one. Absolutely. Even if you have money, because it makes an unhealthy society to live in. Oh, we'll just get on our Learjets and we'll fly away. Well, go ahead and get on your Learjet and fly away. It doesn't work. So Fox News and these guys are pounding. They're pounding. Sell your dollar, the markets are no. That's all we've heard across it. All we've heard from across YouTube land, with social media, the so-called counterculturists, all we've heard. Get out of stocks, get out of stocks. They're just printing money. They've been printing money, yeah. Crushed our dollar, yeah. The Fed's been doing that for a long time. The Fed started that illegal corruption bullshit in the 90s, and it's spilled over. New World, no, it's Old World Order. It's feudalism. Buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. So, and yeah, it's great if you bought gold at $200-300. Good for you, but no one did that. What they did, including the endowment that I used to manage, they sold their Dows at 6,500, 6,800, 7,500, 75. Panic sold, and I could prove that. State Street, which is the clearinghouse for all the stock markets, which they broke the buck. Broke the buck is fraud. Is fraud. Because these mutual funds say they have this, that, and the other thing, and they don't. They send you out a statement every 3 months and tell you this is what we have. It's called window dressing. It's legal. That doesn't mean that's what they own. They window dress at the end of the quarter, buy up these stocks, send out your statement. You think that's what they own. They do whatever they want because there's no regulation. Operation Foxconn just pounds that. The left and the right just pound it. So they're telling you buy gold, buy silver. So let's get real right here, right now. You got $100,000 in your 401k, 2008, 2009. You all panicked out. And I have the data that shows how many people panicked out. Gigantic numbers. Mass populations panicked out at an average of 7,000. Glenn Beck fucking advice. Fox News advice, hammering in a very intense, passionate way. You have to do this. Now remember, these people are exploiting you. These people are making millions off exploiting. I've always known as a financial analyst. I was on Wall Street for years, derivative arbitrage specialist, semiconductor analyst. I freaking knew for years. I was very successful at it. I started trading options and futures in the cattle pits of Ogden, Utah when I was 14 years old. I've always known this, that it's psychology. That as these people prey on the paranoid psychology. Certain people will always say the market's moving down their whole lives. That's just the people they are. So they prey on that. But everybody fell for it. So you sold out. So you got let's take an even number like $100,000. It's a nice even round number. But people did it for millions or, whatever. So you sold you $100,000. You took their advice. You bought silver at $45 an ounce, $35 an ounce, $25 an ounce. When silver went from $5 to $50 while you were asleep in your dogma snuggies. Gold went from $235 an ounce in 2000 to by 2006 to $1,200. Now remember this. You think buying gold is abstract from inflation. No, it's not. No, it's not. You have to wait it. So you weight the Dow, it's 16,000, it's still 8,000 because the dollar was cut in half. You weight your gold at 1,300, that's 650. So you buy gold, silver on their advice. That's all they pound, including Max Kaiser, which has totally ruined his incredible credibility, his brilliant mind, him and Stacy's brilliance, because he handed me a freaking silver coin in Manhattan, right in my hand, with his face on it. These guys are getting rich pounding this dynamic. So, and I've been very generous. Your 100,000 is 65,000. That's being very nice to you. When the reality is probably more like 50,000. So, you left your money in the Dow, in your diverse stock portfolio, or you listen to me from day one. If you just left it alone, you have 312,000. The greatest returns in U.S. stock market history have happened over the last 5 years. Everybody says, oh, no, the dollar's gotten stronger. The dollar in the last 5 years, the dollar's went from 160 against the euro to $1.38. Still pathetic, yeah. It was 75 cents. Under the war machine of the Bush cartel and Operation Foxconn, the dollar went from 75 cents to $1.60. The greatest rip-off of wealth and the greatest looting of America via Foxconn, via CNN, via MSNBC, the greatest looting of America, greatest looting of any wealth, the greatest redistribution of wealth to the 1% in U.S. history. Foxconn is responsible. And the people that participate, and the Fox News watchers who did this, they destroyed you. They destroyed you. I mean, crushed you. So I turned $3,000 into $700,000 in 15 months, right on YouTube, right there. I was on the bus one day, and there's a video that shows this. There's a YouTube video. It shows this. I says, hey, this guy told me on the bus who I know he's married to this lunatic, crazy, mentally ill female. who says, you got to freaking sell out all your stocks and buy silver and guns. And I did a video, and I says, it's just like when Joe Kennedy says the cab driver told him to start buying this stock. He went and shorted the market. He knew, just like I knew. So I told you to buy the triple ETF on the downside on silver when it was 47. There's a video out there. I told people to sell gold at 1900 in August of 21, the day that it capitulated. Now, who can do that? Not only did I tell you to sell it, I told you to buy Tesla. And I know people that did it at $14 and $15 a share. I know two young guys in the Bay Area who did it on my advice. And I said, you can give me a tip. They bought 2,000 shares of Tesla. That's $500,000 in profit off chump change. Of course, they forgot my name now. I turned 3,000 into 7 right in front of everyone's eyes. Now, we laid out all kinds of bets. A bunch of YouTube, everybody, oh, no, gold. I had a $100,000 bet with a freaking guy on YouTube that gold would hit 1,200 before it hit 3,000. He bet me 100,000. It hit 1,200. Of course he didn't pay. They've all disappeared. You know, all this technology, all this fear-mongering, they got it wrong. The greatest stock market returns in United States history from 2009 to present, up over 200% dividend reinvestment. I told you to buy Apple right before I got sick. I did a video. Buy the 480 calls out of the money. They were $30. They went into the money $120 while I'm in the chemo center fighting for my life. They went from $30 a piece to $12,000 a piece. But no, I'm wrong. You want to listen to Foxconn. Oh, we're going to lick our gold bars at night. You're going to worship the golden calf. Worship the golden calf is all any of the evangelicals, the Mormons, Operation Foxconn. That little weasel, Carl with the small c, has his mother spelled it. This is coming right from his ex-wife. Carl Rove, who we ran out of here. We ran him out of the state of Utah. Guys like me ran him out. He went up and set up shop in Texas. His wife says, his whole problem, this is his ex-wife, says that his entire problem is he has a very small penis. That's his ex-wife's words. Mormon? Not from here. Yeah, but a Mormon. Glenn Beck? Mormon. Not from here. Yeah, but a Mormon. Mitt Romney? Mormon. Yeah, not from here, but a Mormon. These people are criminals. These people are mass murderers. Ed Smart, freaking Stewart, our new congressman. And remember, our congressman, Rob Bishop here, District 1, he's had one claim to fame now, 2 murders. He was voted as the laziest congressman in the United States history. He doesn't do anything. He's a piece of hair-sprayed, fat hamburger eating piece of dog shit. He sponsored a bill to get a handgun legal into the national parks. Yeah, because those tourists, those German tourists are scary. We hadn't had a freaking murder in a national park in 50 years. We've had 2 now. Little girl getting in her mama's purse, pulling out her pink freaking gun. He goes up and blows her head off. That's the only thing he's done in 14 years in Congress. By the way, Mike Lee, it's been well documented. His house in foreclosure, why he was introducing a balanced budget agreement on the floor. This is your baby. This is your guy. $1.1 million to the bad. He short sold his house for $600,000 less. I think he owned $1.2 million on it. It sold for $600,000. By the way, I hear he still lives in it. Corrupt as it gets. The Mormon Church. Corrupt as a gift to Karl Rove, BYU Law. J.P. Morgan, the federal bank bailed out Mike Lee. $600,000. And this is a guy who badmouths the $200, wants to cut food stamps when he's a welfare whore from hell. $600,000 he got in welfare. You cannot pick and choose your region of wealth. The military industrial complex are military whores. It's like, oh, look at these heroes. They came back. These heroes. They're not heroes. None of those guys are heroes. Now, a guy goes onto the battlefield and fights and saves guys' life like Otto Murphy. Yeah, they're great. But the victims of serpent, they're not heroes. They're victims. They played video games as a child. Eric Jordan, who designed all my shirts and everything, that's what he did. He fled. He understood that he was feeding. I have a very great friend whose son-in-law killed himself this week. Been in Iraq on 4 tours. And I want everybody to understand, all you Iraqis that are suffering with this, war veterans, it's not your fault. You did not go over there and kill those people. You did not. So don't drink yourself to death. Don't kill yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. You didn't do that. They forced you into it. They did that. That was not you. It's not your fault. Don't take the guilt and don't take the fall. Don't drink yourself and kill yourself. Don't do it. You didn't do that. And God will freaking protect you. Whatever those gods are, whatever it be pagan, whatever it be the forces, they will protect you. You didn't do that. Foxconn News did that. The drum beaters, the draft dodgers, the George Bushes of the world, the Dick Cheneys, the Donald Rumsfeld did that. Code Pink used to fight dramatically against those guys. Code Pink, they got it with blood, the females, just like the Chernobyl girls. All these guys that beat the war drums, they never bled. They never bled a drop. They never watched deaths in their families. Hair-sprayed fake fuckers, just like they come back now. Oh, they wrap themselves up in the flag, boy. When they come back, they don't even know your name. The same Neil Kahns on Congress floor, the freaking Mike Lees, the Ted Cruzes, these pieces of dog shit, they never bled. They never bled. None of their family members never bled. They say, oh, Kev, did you? No, my father was a freaking Special Forces Marine, killed in the Nevada test site. My uncle who stood on Omaha Beach who raised me on D-Day. My other uncle, POW in Nam, one of the most famous fighter pilots, that's the people that I come from. They bled. They knew. They knew. Anti-war just like Code Pink. But we don't even know who that is, so you worship. You still worship the ground of Fox News, and I can prove that all the conservative movement and these fucking, the YouTube land still worships the ground that Fox News walks on. Operation Foxconn, the Queen's propaganda machine. Bundy says, they say go Bundy, you say go. So Fox News said so. So you go into a pedophile, you go into a baby raping welfare whore who's robbed you, the taxpayer. You pay taxes. We all pay taxes. We have roads, we have fire departments, we have police departments. Well, how do you think that shit gets paid for? Yet the billionaires of the world, oh no, we support, because Grover Goldquist told us. They don't have to pay, we pay. You support the very brew dynamic that fucking squashes you. Oh, we can't have a tariff, you protectionist. Oh, we can't enforce usury laws. Oh, we can't have antitrust laws. Remember, we took down Bill Gates. Had him broke apart, but Bush let him off the fucking hook. I want people to really know this in a dramatic way. They're destroying you. They're taking all your money. They're taking your wealth. They're killing you. They're covering up Fukushima in a dramatic way. Fukushima will be Chernobyl on Balco. Fukushima has already killed over 1 million people in North America. Well over 1 million people. Cancer rates have spiked post-Fukushima in a dramatic way. Right here. Our hospital takes on the hardcorest of the hard. They're overflowing. They've never been so fucking busy. And the cancers are more aggressive. They're more dramatic. The cancer just like I got, and I wrote a check to get in there. I wrote out my $700,000. I figured it up the other day would have been worth over $20 million. I mean, you think about that. Just in a couple years, I turned 3,000. Would have been $20 million. I had to write a check to get into that bone marrow transplant and fight for my life as I was dying. The people that I told you to go all in on these different things, because they listen to Fox. So you worship your gold bars. You lick them at night. Lick your gun barrel, too. So maybe sleep with it. You live in your dogma. To be real, get out and go hiking. That's what you need to do. Take your family, not, hey, we're going to go to the mountains, we're going to buy this freaking big cart thing like a dune buggy and ride around and shoot our rifles and shoot our handguns and our ride our motorcycles. No, get off your fucking ass. Leave the vehicles all at home. Leave the motorcycles at home. Leave the ATVs. Leave them all at home. Go for a hike. Go off for a hike. Because I travel the Post-Ignorance Project. I get in the street, and I always find, they always come to me. The angels watch out for me. They always come in. It's always usually one person. Every time I go, people that are so in tune and so in bed with the landscape. They live their whole life. Like John down there. He took me out to Point Reyes. This guy's been there and knows his whole life. And he's in symphony with the environment. I timed that on the 26th, and I didn't tell anybody that because I was in symphony with the Chernobyl movement. They had a big turnout at theirs. I understand they had 500. Yeah, Kevin, you only had 5? No, I had much more than that. I had the baby leopard sea lion that we got a video of them. I had the pod of whales come to me, all of us, because they know that energy that is inside our souls that let me live. That energy that's inside our soul, it's connected to the landscape, whether you want to, you can deny it all you want in your hairspray and you worship your gold bars because Let me tell you, bone marrow transplant centers do not take gold bars. You have to convert it to cash. It costs a lot of money to survive these diseases. You say, oh, these are, oh yeah, there's probably a lot of truth to that. I got abused by doctors because I was uninsured. I finally went down and threw down my stock portfolio to the doctor, and I says, I went crazy. I says, I have the ability to pay. They would just send me, just cut and gut, let him die. He doesn't have insurance. And I threw down that stock portfolio. I says, I have the ability to pay. I have the ability to pay. Everything changed when I laid that down. The sick, sad culture we live in. Sick. Waiting lines for freaking chemo. And I like all the dogmatism. There's a cure for cancer. And somehow, this meat's not going to get to me. My hamburgers are different. My steaks are different. My meat is different. And I want people to know this, people that stay off the beaches and go on. The marine layer rolls in every day. It rolls in every day. It's unavoidable. Chernobyl kills over 100,000 young females a year, every year. Plutonium's half-life, 239, is 24,500 years. You may have forgot, but it didn't forget. FEMEN drawed the attention. I was involved with a young stripper that I knew in Las Vegas, an incredible woman. Her and I've spent my whole life in the Nevada desert, all of it. That's me. It's where I grew up. That's where I lived. In the Bundy thesis, all of it. That's how I met Megan and Madeline Rice. In the Nevada test site, protesting. Megan Rice was laying down, blocking toxins coming in and out of there to the burn plants. Says, run me over. Megan Rice is the greatest human rights activist of our time, bar none. Bar none. The FEMEN, the greatest. They went in there, took their shirts off in Chernobyl, held up them signs because they understood that these dogmatic sheep are Freudian. These beautiful Russian girls, and it got attention. It made every newspaper across Europe, and it woke Europe's ass up. They're very much responsible for the anti-nuclear movement in Germany, for the anti-nuclear movement in Switzerland, for the anti-nuclear movement in Italy, in Spain, which are gigantic. They throw nuclear out. By the way, Italy, every time they try to come in, the nuclear cartel moves in, the real mob kneecaps them. For real. This is a war we are in. And if you don't believe me, we have 17 trillion in debt, in a reading debt. The science fiction economics, you're working longer and longer for less. You can go denial all you want about it. You look at your balance sheet. And in San Francisco, whatever, it's a cultural theme park for nothing but Europeans, because it's all hinged to the real estate markets. This thing cannot continue to go on. There's the Fed and their 0% of fairy tales. The cash economy in the United States is bigger than the real economy now. The participation rate, now get this, last quarter, the participation rate on the unemployment number, over 1 million people fell. The participation rate's the lowest it's been since 1978. For the very opposite reason it was in 78. The strongest middle class in United States history peaked out in 1979. Wages raised, nominal wages from 1945 to 1979 rose every single year. From 1979 to present, from 1980 to present, they declined every single year, without exception. Alan Greenspan, the greatest, another Ayn Rand free market. Ayn Rand was never an economist. She was a science fiction writer who was on public assistance most of her life. Paul Ryan, all these so-called things. She was an atheist, a counterculturist, born in Stalingrad, Russia. Until you understand these things that you've been had. You've been had. Operation Foxconn, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, these guys are terrorists. You've been had. I believe they're all CIA. I believe they've all been funded. They can't be that stupid. It's impossible for them to be that dumb. Are they really that mentally ill? No. Laughing all the way, fake, all the way to the bank. Special. And I'll prove it to you. Bill O'Reilly on Colbert. Well, Stephen, it's all an act. Stephen Colbert, if you're an act, what am I? Bill O'Reilly admits it. He admits it. He's laughing out of the other side. Buy gold when they're getting kickbacks on gold and silver. But they're financially destroying you. And if you don't think you need that money in your 401k as you get older, oh boy. Know this, Medicaid and Medicare. Once you hit 69 years old, I saw it in that bone marrow transplant. They will not give you a bone marrow transplant. They won't. Our hospital throws huge resources. The younger they are, the more resources, and rightfully so. They threw huge resources at Carla, my beautiful friend. This beautiful tennis player who's fighting for her life. 100,000 women a year. 100,000 year in, year out go through what she's going through. That's what Fukushima is going to do to you. The CDC themselves, the liars, have already said, if you're a female under the age of 40 in the United States, you have an 85% chance you will deal with cancer in your life. That's not a pandemic, that's an epidemic. That is a direct result from nuclear fallout, the United States of nuclearism. Now, I'm going to continue to fight. I've been released off the critical list. I finally got released to go back to work. I'm going back to work in my hedge fund. I'm going to have an anti-nuclear hedge fund. I'm going to freaking play their own game. These oligarchs, I'm going to freaking build it up, and I'm going to go right at them in their face. I'm going to try to get other hedge fund managers who have power and wealth, who think they're on the winning team. I'm going to try to find ones that have had death in their family. Just like when I was at the White House, the head of security, he was a prick to me until I started talking to him, and his young sister had just passed away of leukemia in San Francisco. Marin County, the elitists is there, which may be the cancer capital, one of the cancer capitals of the world. In denial, I'm about to go, because it's all about their work. Just like I shot that video under Golden Gate, that cuts across so many dynamics. That's federally protected marsh. The dog walkers chasing the federally protected blue herons in the marsh. Female prisoners from the industrial military prison complex, mowing the native marshes. We're not supposed to tell anybody, Kevin, but we're prisoners. We're not supposed to mow the native grass, but we don't know the difference between the real grass and the native grass, or the fake grass. We don't know, so we didn't mow it all. Federal protected marsh in an sanctuary under Golden Gate in San Francisco, because they all think they're elitists. They think they're on the winning team. Swimming in the bay. Oh, we're cosmopolitan. They're children swimming naked in the bay. Triathletes swimming. What's going on in Russia with this girl? Well, she's not in Russia, but she was born there. Her liver cancer is a direct result of Chernobyl, which hundreds of thousands die a year. It affects women harder than men, but it kills a lot of men. That's what's going to happen in the United States. It's already happening in a dramatic way. We already know that cancer rates are spiking. My work showed well over a year ago that Fukushima already killed 1 million people in the United States. It's probably much more than that. Because, and you can directly draw the line, the dramatic spike in cancer, death via cancer, post-Fukushima. The plume went over us and just hammered us in the United States. Covered up, the greatest cover-up in human history. Marie Antoinette, let them eat yellow cake. Right, left, has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the propaganda machine, and because why would anybody give a fuck? Because you don't give a fuck. Because you think you're on the winning team. You think you're above. You think you're abstract. You're not. You're not. So many of you are going to die from cancer. Right to denial. I'm head of our support group. I was. I hear people all the time, oh, it's God's will. Again, back to John Steinbeck, East of Eden. Tim show. That's out of the Old Testament. That means thou mayest. That means that men are responsible for their own actions, and there are consequences. There are dramatic consequences for releasing nuclear fallout, and low levels of radiation are okay. Bullshit. That is the biggest lie you've been shoved down your throat. It's a human. There are no low levels. Lip leaking, these minor leaks all over. You don't think they're directly correlated with autism, with MS, with all these diseases? Death via cancer. The longevity rate has topped in the United States. It's going backwards the other way. Same in Europe. Post-Chernobyl. April 26, 1986. As I Live to Tell. That's when that song came out. As I Live to Tell. I've lived. I've got a second chance. I don't know how. My intense fight, my incredible radical intensity. I call it my intense period. The erotica, the fight, the intensity, my electrical magnetism inside my body, pushing these freaking things out of my body. The type of leukemia I had it's virtually a death sentence. And I know they knock it down with the chemo and they knock it down, and those doctors did a magnificent job. But I cut off the chemo 2 years ago. I said, no more. And I had to pray, and I did that video out by my father's potato digger, and that was a dream I had tonight. I had to make the decision, which was the biggest decision of my life, to whether I have the bone marrow transplant or not. And I didn't. One of the very first, maybe the first person in the United States history to have this, that's done this willingly without. Because I have a great old doctor, 40-year-old oncologist, Fimbo Peterson, from Copenhagen, Denmark, and his Danish philosophy, beautiful mind, he overrode everybody. Vincent Hansen, they overrode all these other doctors. My own subconscious, my own mind, as I step back and view from the broader perspective, I listen to my soul. I listen to my subconscious. I listen to my cerebral cortex because we are not animals. We have a cerebral cortex that makes us think, makes us understand that things are not that easy. We just don't go buy a gold bar. We don't just get a gun. That's the answer. We are sophisticated. No, we don't throw the baby out of the bathwater. These decisions are dynamic. These decisions are creative. Einstein, creativity is much more important than knowledge. He was a brilliant anti-war activist. J. Robert Oppenheimer, anti-bomb. All these great things. The military-industrialized complex that Foxconn supports. The Queen's Army. She owns all the uranium mines. The House of Windsor. The 9/11 terrorists. The house, the money that puts on the airline stocks, traced right back to the House of Windsor. Bill Walmart Clinton, Oxford Rhodes Scholar. The economic thesis has destroyed us. This reeling debt is out of control. There's only one answer, and there's only been one answer, a tariff at the port. The same answer that was in 1776. Oh, there were no socialistic programs in 76. Oh, yeah? What about the United States Marine Corps? What about the United States Coast Guard, the very thing we did? 8 employees at the port collecting duties at the East Indian Company. Before the Bill of Rights, the Tariff Act, 1789, I believe it was, maybe 1791. Read it. Before the Bill of Rights. This is not a democracy. This is a republic with a constitution. And you want to just quote the First Amendment. Well, let me tell you, said all those 10 amendments came at once. We had the Tariff Act before the Bill of Rights to block the East India, to Walmart, the new East India Company. Alexander Hamilton, we must block cheap Chinese goods to protect our workforces. We must have a grade A credit rating. For it's naive to think that our shores will not be attacked for our vast natural resources. Jefferson, the slave owner, yeah, he may have been a lot of things, but he was pragmatic enough. As those two battled, they were pragmatists. They understood, even though they battled out, they understood, hey, Hamilton's right. He's right. The Queen attacked our shores. She took our mines. 6 inches under your house, you don't own it. If you go to Ireland, and they'll tell you, how come you guys in America can't own anything? You can't own anything. Property tax. You all pay it. The only person that doesn't pay it, oh, Bundy. You don't pay his. You don't pay no property tax. You don't pay no. He extorts. You're paying it. You don't own anything 6 inches. The Queen owns it. The Queen owns it. The resources. We don't have a sovereign flow fund in this country. We don't have one. The natural resources. Oh, we're going to frack and we're going to go get those Iraqis oil. What are you, Shell Oil? You British Petroleum? British Petroleum sealed off public beaches in the Gulf. Sealed them off. Public beaches with their own personal police forces. The Dragon Slayers, the Queen's Army. Legally burned mammals. Sprayed toxin on the freaking Gulf and annihilated the food basket. Before Fukushima happened, the CDC themselves rated the 12 most contaminated food sources on Earth. All 12 are out of the ocean. That was before Fukushima. I stay untuned. Oh, we got low-level traces in Oregon. They're going to say, that's right out of the Goffman 1090 rule. Playing you like a fiddle. Do you remember in the early days, oh, no, this isn't even a meltdown. This isn't nothing for years. I'm screaming my head off. Wake up in an acute way. Because I don't want to be one of these guys that Naomi Klein. I don't want to be Chris Hedges that regurgitate this 10 years after the fact and write books and get riches. No, I tried to acutely alert people as it was unfolding because this can't be looking back. Stay tuned. We'll talk more about this on Tuesday or Thursday. Quit listening to these morons. They're destroying your world, your life. Quit listening to Operation Foxconn. They're terrorists. I love all you guys. And like I said, this channel's not for the little kids. It is for the little kids, but you guys run along to Fox and get a cookie. Enough with the racism. Hey, I'm doing it.
All hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Twin Gate